are going to do yes, so today what we are going to do is slightly, one can say, a tricky concept maybe. And the point is that when we do something, we also need to understand that if we do this, then something is going to happen. And the other thing is that why that thing is actually going to happen. So, so combining all those, my suggestion will be that I may be slightly slow, as well as you can use your pen, paper, copy, whatever that you can have. And today, some mathematics is also going to come. Very simple, one can say the most elementary form of mathematics that may be required, but at least you require uh, your copy pen. And there is one more request that please, whenever you have any question, then only unmute. If possible, take yourself to some room where no noise, not much noise is there, because whatever I'm going to cover, anyways, it is going to be again some sort of extempore at the spur of the moment I will be speaking. So I actually keep on, if I get noise or disturbances, then probably I may forget. So that is the thing. And if I forget, then what will happen that nobody will be able to tell me that what I was about to say. You can only say that okay, you were speaking this. So let us start. I can see that not too many students have joined, only 20. So that is the thing. I mean, online teaching. This is online teaching, by the way. Oh, so before going to start, let me take, because is it that because of that I am teaching something completely abstract and you may not be able to, what do you say, follow, because of that you are not able to join or leaving the connection, or students got involved. So please, you can write one, or you can raise your hand if you have, what we have covered till now, you have got most of it, then please raise your hands. One, two. Yeah, Satinder sir is also saying Shishir 11. Yeah, so 11 we have got, 13 we have got, 14 we have got. Okay, so more or less most of you, and I know Gitanjali, Himani, and Shravanti. Shravanti, you also, I assume, get most of the stuff. Yeah, so out of 21, we are getting good amount of persons who are able to get the stuff, which means this is the issue, that students are not even joining when they have even submitted the money. You understand? So that is the reason I need to charge. Otherwise, what will happen that I am alone, maybe along with Daksh. Daksh need to listen this stuff again and again. He can even deliver these lectures. So this is the current scenario. Everyone is interested in some, mirch masala. They may probably want stuff which is, having much more things other than the core stuff. So I am covering things just because of you, just with respect to your perspective. Whenever I cover, I even don't know that what today. I know that what I need to cover, but I don't know what is the form in which this content that we are about to cover is going to be, presented in front of you. By the way, only 50% of the class is available, which is really very bad. And I can see most of the industry persons, they are attentive and attending the classes, as well as faculty members, and students as usual started to take things, but as usual started to take things for granted, and last they will say that we don't understand. By the way, today lecture is very, very important because it is going to lay some foundation And foundation of one can say discriminative discriminative learning to generative learning. So once I say that what's the difference between them, so you have kids and you show him this is the board, and then you say this is A. He will say, okay, this is A, and then you remove, and then say, sir, is it this is B? Okay, this is also A. Okay, and then you say that this is also B, this is also B, this is also B, and so on. So you are trying to let your kid understand that A and B, there are two different things, and that is actually the discrimination that guy is trying to understand. Now, this is initially you do, and when he started to understand that stuff, then he will say write an A. He will write A, or he may write. Then you say no, it's incorrect. Can you do it better? Then he may write. Then you started to beat several times. Beat like it's like different loss functions you come up with. Sometimes you say we'll give you chocolate. Sometimes you say no, you have to make it in this way. Sometimes you started to scold him or try to shout over him, and at some point he will say that a and they are a. So what is happening? Actually, this is the thing that this is discriminative learning, and from discrimination you are taking that guy to generation. It's plain simple. Generative learning is much more difficult than discrimination. It may be the case that there are certain very simple patterns which can differentiate between A and B, and your network actually understood that and started to differentiate, doing different type of classifications for you. But later, it's going to happen that you will say that see, not like this A and B. Now you have to draw this A. So differentiating between A and B and drawing and A, the type of learning which is required, it is completely different. In fact, it requires more and more efforts to really understand how one can draw. So this is actually the thing that we are interested. We are interested from to understand discriminative learning and generative learning. Differentiate between the discriminative learning and the generative learning. That's the point. Okay. Now you may ask that why do you require generative learning and other type of question, and maybe at some point during the lecture today or maybe next week we will have some more applications related to this stuff. Yes. So now let us, before going to talk about anything else, one small new layer that I need to talk about. Till now you have talked about fully connected layer, you know about CNN layers, you know about pooling layers, and you may be aware of softmax layer in the last, then other in between components are actually be well understood by all of you. Now the point is that we are going to talk about another layer. So this is CNN, or we say the convolutional layer, and the pooling. The reverse of convolution is deconvolution, and the pooling always used to write as pool or down sampling. The reverse is up sampling. So always we used to say 4 to 1, which means that from 4 values, you can move in 2 directions and you make it one single value. That is max. Can you do it the reverse thing? That if I give you one value, can you tell me what were those 4 values? Similarly, if I give you a map, can you give me that filter? So I have actually a filter. I have actually a image. I apply this filter over image and I will get this. So this is I, this is F. And given I and F, given I and F, what we want is, we have got I dash. We have got an I dash. And what we want is that from I dash, can I get back I? So you will say that how can you get back I? So I say that I wanted to learn a filter, which I apply over this so that I get an I. It's just a reverse of conv, and that is why this becomes convolution. That's actually called as deconvolution, but the procedure is almost same, and it's also being, learning is required here, that we wanted to learn a filter that when is being applied can actually convert I can actually convert this response into its original data. Yeah, so these are the two things, and how so I'm not going to cover in much detail how decon actually works because it requires some more effort. But the point is that it's again the way in which you write 2D convolution. You can write 2D decon, and both of these things are equivalent and they used to work, and they use to convert the transform the given data. It will make I to I dash, and it will make I dash to I, and both of them are actually learning some transformation. Yes, so the point here is that downsamplings when becomes upsampling. So there are ways by which you can upsample the things and then you apply deconv over that. So internally now these things are somehow being managed so that you just write deconvolution and things are happening for you. And what it is doing, so it is, that if you have got an image which is like this, having 11, 15, 17, 22, and then you make it 22, that's the max pool, and then you make it, what values should have to come over here. So it can initially say that I write 22, 22, 22, and 22 everywhere. Now at least the size becomes same, because the first thing was that since it was 4 to 1, it has to be 1 to 4. So from 1 to 4, first you need to match the size. How can you match the size? So there are, multiple ways. The simplest is that you just replicate that value, and over that you apply a filter. So you learn this filter. I learned this filter. Here also I'm learning a filter that can actually be used to transform this. Here also I'm learning a filter, and which will take this and convert it into another image which is somehow being similar or close to this guy. So this is actually a way by which, if I let me draw something for you, and then you can understand that I get an image like this. And then and then I have actually flattened it up, and then I upsample it. Till now, every time you must have seen that I have something and then I downsample it. Now I'm saying that I upsample it because now I know that you can upsample as well. And maybe I do some more upsampling. And finally, I get it back to its original size. So this type of networks can actually be shown as that I have an image, then I have a feature, and then I upsample. And finally, I'm getting a M cross N thing. M cross N goes in and M cross N goes out. Previously, M cross N goes in and you used to draw it in this way. This is the final feature. Over that you apply softmax and so on and some losses. So this is, here you are doing discrimination, which is saying that whether it's a cat or a dog or both of these images are same or different. And this is actually the embedding, maybe pre-final layer or some layer where you have got the best possible conv features. You can use these features for even your CME's network. Doing how far two images are. But now what we are trying to do is slightly different. What we are now interested in is that I take an image, upsample it, and then convert and save it as an image. I have got an I have got an I dash as an output. Now the point is that can we do stuff? Can we do things like this? So first thing is that, yes, you can do things in that way, but there is a catch. The catch is that if you take M cross N things and flatten, then it's already of the same size. So the point is that first let us understand one basic stuff that we understood already, is that from 4 we can make 1 and from 1 we can make 4. And if this is possible, this is actually deconvolution that we are actually trying to do. And now instead of a convolutional neural network, if I make a deconvolutional neural network, that can actually be used to generate the images. Because convolutional neural networks are like this. You give something input, you will get some vector as an output. And usually this is an image and this is a vector. So the input and output dimensions are completely different. So you cannot even generate anything. How can you generate? You can generate only when you have a power to make things bigger. From small, you can make things big, because this anyways becomes far more smaller than this. And from smaller, how can you make bigger is using deconvolutions. How it can be done is something that I will come maybe in 10 to 15 minutes. But before that, given such type of deconvolutional network, which is something that I have got a 128 dimensional vector, and all of them are 1. And then I upsample it. It becomes 526. Then I further upsample it. It becomes 512. Then I even further upsample it. It may become 1024. And finally, I make an image out of it. It is just a reshaping of the data. Maybe it is 100, this is 10, something like this. Or maybe 80 by 80 or something by which you can, get a image. First, you see that what the network is doing is just upsampling. Basically, it is not say upsampling, it's doing deconvolutions. We are having so many deconvolutions which are happening. What network is looking is only 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. It's a fixed vector 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. I have got an output that can actually be seen as an image because it's actually a 2D matrix. I have one image that is a cat image. Some cat. This is my cat image. Cat is here. This is IG. Output that I am getting, assume that it is I dash. My loss becomes equal to I hat minus IG MSE. You can write it as I dash, sorry, IG. That's your loss. If and how many parameters? Each and every layer is having its own set of parameters. So if we have that many number of parameters along with us, which are randomly initialized, input is always fixed. What is that? All ones. I show all ones to my network. It will go in. Here you will get some output. Here you will get some output. Here you will get some output. Here you will get some output, and find out how much difference is there between this randomly generated 2D matrix and a cat image, fixed given cat image. Find out the difference, get that loss, back propagate. And then again show on all these ones. Again get a loss, again back propagate, again get a loss, again back propagate, again get a loss, again back propagate. You keep on doing for a good amount of time. What is expected? What do you expect that is going to happen? Yes, anyone can say now.
At some given point in time, your I dash will be equal to IG or close enough to IG.
Yes, that's true. Now something amazing has happened. What is that? Can anyone tell what amazing thing has happened?
From nowhere, it has generated cat's image.
Yes, from nowhere, random vector or a fixed vector 1 1. And you must have seen that this network itself never ever have seen this IG. You have not shown this cat a single time to this network. Only differences that I dash, how close or far is from this, it is generating. But one important thing, that it is from nowhere it is generating. What does that mean? That it actually have seen this IG, but you have not shown it explicitly, but it has seen it via gradients, and that gradients are actually being saved somehow inside our weight vectors. So essentially what has happened, that IG, which is not even being shown, has shown as differences, and those differences are somehow being encoded inside our network, and you take this network, take it to America, London, New York, wherever you want, and give it 1 1 1 1 1 1 1, it will generate the same cat image. Which means that this is something which has stored that image IG in some ways. So in fact, you can see neural network as a data structure. It has saved a whole image inside it. And then somebody came and say that, sir, I have another image. This is a dog image. So can you save that thing also inside this network? I will say, okay, I can also do that. And then I give it 0 1 0 1, some number. And whenever I feed 1 1 1, I will get some output I dash. IG will be actually this. And when I feed this, IG will actually be this dog. So your loss is slightly different. It depends. So for each and every image that you wanted to get yourself stored in your database, like neural network, you give it a code. Given that code, when you give that code, loss is being computed with respect to the difference between the generated as well as the image, dog image. And you just keep on back propagating for a good amount of time, keeping these labels intact. And you got your output. So this network is actually trained, and after that, you just need to take your table and say, hey, you wanted to see the cat? Okay, all ones, set it in, you will get a cat image. This dog image, this another dog image, something else, car image, whatever. Now, is this okay to everyone, or you have any question?
I have not understood the saving. How do we save this in the network? That part.
Yes. So the
Well,
point is that, see, you see this network. Have you shown this image, cat image, to this network?
no.
You are you yourself is a network. Suppose that, what is your name?
Shishir.
Shishir, this is my this is my network. Okay. When this is my network, have you ever seen this image? No. But you only have seen that whatever you are making, it's differences from something, some mystique thing. This is, God. You don't know God. So what you do, you believe, and then find out how your belief and God is different. But you cannot see the God. You are only getting the differences that आज मैंने ये मांगा मुझे नहीं मिला, फिर मैंने भगवान की ऐसे पूजा की तो वो खुश हो गए तो उन्होंने मुझे वो चीज दे दी, तो आपने कहा अच्छा इसका मतलब है कि हनुमान जी को लड्डू पसंद है, क्योंकि लड्डू देने से आपका काम बन गया. नेक्स्ट टाइम आप गए एंड आपने उसको कुछ और, भगवान को कोई और चीज दिया, एंड प्रॉब्ली ही डोंट लाइक. So what you do not have access to IG, but you can hit and try certain things. Probably a better example is that आप ना नकली नोट बनाते हैं. Better example, let me give you that आप नकली नोट बनाते हैं, तो आपने एक नोट बनाया, आपको कुछ पता ही नहीं, आपने एक ब्लैंक पेपर बनाया, पुलिस वाले को दिखाया, उसने पकड़ लिया आपको. इससे नो, ये तो फेक करेंसी, ये 100 का नोट थोड़ा है, फेक करेंसी. आपको पकड़ लिया. फिर आपने कहा अच्छा तो उसने कैसे पहचाना, तो अगली बार आपने उसमें एक लाइन खींच दी, उसने फिर पकड़ लिया. फिर आपने कहा अच्छा 100 का नोट है, इसमें 100 लिख दो. So at that point of time you started to get your loss slightly decreased. आपने कहा अच्छा तो 100 में एक लाइन लगाता है, इस तरीके का रंग रखता है, इस तरीके का ये. And then from that differences you keep on moving in the right direction to get those weights which are here got trained. And when your weights got trained, you actually generate IG, which you have not seen. So by the way, when this network is trained, which has not even seen IG, now where is this IG? Is IG is there. IG must have to be somewhere in this network so that it can generate IG for you. So I am saying that assume that IG got stored in your network because it is able to generate IG for you from nowhere.
Right.
So, right. So that is your data structure, right? It's actually a data structure. In fact, in cryptic, or you can say it's such a type of data structure that if you don't know the key of that image, you will not be able to open it. Right. I can say that I am giving you a network. I'm sending you. You said that Aditya, you have certain my images. Can you send them? I say that no, I don't send those images. I am sending you a network. You pass this code, and you are going to get your image as an output. And I have trained that network.
So when
Yeah.
I'm passing one all ones,
Yes.
the part that I couldn't understand is when I'm passing all ones, my
Yeah.
network is trained to generate a cat image.
Yes.
Right. Now,
Yes.
when I'm passing a different code,
Yeah.
when the weights are relearned,
Yes.
it will now learn so as to generate a dog's image.
Yes.
Now, on the same network, now when I pass 111 again, how
Yeah.
can it regenerate the cat's image back? Because now the weights have been relearned to produce dog's image, not cat anymore.
Yes, that's true. So that is the point, that within a batch, we are going to have certain cat, dog, and all. And whenever you wanted to generate this cat image, you need to give this. So your loss is not fixed. That IG is not fixed. IG is actually dependent upon your input vector. Now, if your input is 111, loss has been computed with respect to the cat image. When it is 0111, it's going to be computed with respect to the dog image, and so on. So it has to learn all different image generations and generalize over that.
So only the part which are ones will actually learn, and zeros in different images will not override what it has learned previously for cat.
See, you are looking at it with a predefined notion of that 111 can actually be translated to cat. My point is that see it as any network. Any network is not fixed to one image. It has to be generalized over a good amount of data. The same thing we are saying over here, because any image can have any type of representation.
Correct, but at a given time, one network
Yes.
can only generate either cat or dog.
No,
So,
no. It's actually a much more complex function. Let me write this as a form of function. Let me write it as a form of function, that this function f, it is parameterized over theta. And theta is actually the set of parameters, and it is going to take a random vector x, and it is going to give me an image I. Now, it depends upon this x, that what you are showing me. Theta is trained in such a way so that if you give me 11111, I will generate cat image. If I give you 010 and so on, it will give me dog image, and so on. I guess this is a better way in which you can. Yes. Okay, fine. Now yes, please ask.
Sir, if we give the another vector, let's say if we train for 10 classes like cat, dog, and others, but if we give the another random vector which is not matched with these 10 classes, then what output this model give?
You have not trained it for anything else, so it will give you something that you even don't know.
Sir, then it will trained on that, or it will skip that vector?
नहीं skip कैसे करेगा? Network है ना, it's going to give you something. Whether it is meaningful or not, you don't know. It is just like एक ताला है ना, एक ताले में आपने एक चाबी लगाई, अगर वो सही चाबी है ताला खुल जाएगा, वरना ताला नहीं खुलेगा. नहीं खुलने का मतलब ये है कि it will generate something you don't recognize. नहीं समझे?
Okay,
yes?
sir. Understand.
Understood. अंडरस्टूड। हाँ, और पूछिए, ये थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे समय बिता लीजिए क्योंकि ये पहली बार देखा है आप लोगों ने। प्लीज आस्क क्वेश्चन।
इसमें are we using the convolutional network that we have talked about yesterday, or is it like completely new, no relation to the
Yeah.
previous one at all?
No, totally related. The only thing is that here we are using deconvolutional neural network instead of convolutional,
Mhm.
in which, in case of convolution neural network, what used to happen is that I will take filter, apply it over an image, I will get a response. In deconvolution, I will take a response, I will take a filter, apply it, doing deconvolution, and I will get this thing back. Just the reverse.
Yeah,
So
but so am I giving, like when I'm giving labels as input, right? Whatever random matrix or random vector it is.
Yes.
Am I also giving a corresponding image saying this is my y, expected y? Like what kind of?
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
So it is just like, okay, so the good thing that you have said is, let me also rephrase it in that way, that when you train MNIST data set, let me show MNIST in your assignments or lab assignments, that you have got your X and your label. X is your image and label is a one hot encoding.
Right.
Something, right? Now that was convolutional neural network when you are doing classification. In this case, X and Y actually got reversed. Here
Okay.
your X becomes 0, 1, 1, 1 something, and Y becomes the image itself, that cat image or dog image or some image or that image, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you, ma'am. That was actually a better way to explain. The other thing is that still you may feel slightly more confused that this cat can be any cat image. By the way, this is a fixed cat image. It's not a cat class any image. It's a fixed cat image, and its fixed cat image is embedding, or one can say the vector by which, or the key by which, or the label by which you can generate this cat, the fixed cat, is actually this X. So for every cat image, if you have another cat image, you require another vector. For next cat image, you require another vector. It may be that these vectors need to be close enough so that to somehow fulfill the criteria, as Shishir was saying, that if you wanted to generate a cat image and your cat vector is all one, then second cat image need not to be too far from this 1 1 1 1 1, maybe 0 0.0, 0 0.09, 0.098, 1.0, 1.001, and so on. So that you will get cat image 1, you will get cat image 2, you will get cat image 3, and so on. So you have so many cat images in your database. And if you wanted to incorporate all these cat images, show it to your network one by one, you need to carefully choose your vectors. Otherwise, network will not converge. If all zeros going in and you say make a cat image, and all ones going in and again you will say make the cat image, and all 0 1 0 1 0 1 goes in and again you will say that make a cat image, and some 0 0 1 1 1 1 0, and then you will say make a dog image. If you do randomly the things, network will find it difficult to converge. But our thing is that suppose that I have a database of some images, maybe cat image 1, cat image 2, then dog image 1 and dog image 2, and then I make a network like this, and for this cat I have a vector v1, for this cat I have a vector v2, vector v3, and vector v4, and v1 v2 are close, v3 v4 are slightly or also close, but v1 v2 are far from V3, V4, then you can train this network in such a way so that whenever V1 goes in, it will generate C1. V2 goes in, it can generate C2. V3 goes in, it can generate D1. And V4 goes in, it will generate D2. Is this clear to each and everyone till now? Very simple concept.
Yeah.
Good. Good. This is fine. Now the next point is
When we say that,
no. Yes,
so
yes, yes. Please.
so
Yes, question.
when we say
Please.
that it's going to generate C1 or C2, right? It may not be exactly the same as C1, C2 because it's
Yes.
not an ideal network. So in turn, we want to generate something which is close to C1, probably a closer image of C1, which is not actually a real image. So is it correct? Let's say
That's true.
okay.
That's true. That's true. Because loss is decreased, which means that they may be similar. Exactly same may not be exactly same. And it depends upon the data, how much difficult, complex, and how big your network and so on. So how much your loss got minimized. But that depends upon that. That's true, right? So similar is the word.
So if the network is kind of not trained properly, then it is possible that we get some third type of image, which is cat plus dog, non-existent.
Yeah, even that is also going to happen. But let's see. This is a very toy example that I'm trying to give. I wanted to make this auto encoder, but at least when you started to understand this stuff, I assume that you understand the concept that I was actually trying to tell you. But things don't happen in that way because it is just the half of the picture. But I guess that you have got, and this is also the thing that we call this stuff as a decoder. You understand why this is called as decoder? Because it is taking some encoded entities that you manually have encoded and you are getting decoded entities. So that is why it's called as decoder.
Okay.
Right. Okay, understood.
Give me
Yes.
some examples of applications of this.
Wait, it's not the complete thing. Wait.
Okay.
Yes. No, my question is that there is an issue. The issue is that my database is this, and instead of these 4 images, as I have shown previously, I'm having 4 million images. And I wanted to say that now you can, some way come up with, for 4 million images, the VIs, the vectors. Can you come up with a way? Manually doing is not possible. How can we do that? Can anyone first you understand the question and then you tell me the answer? My question is that how can I make VIs automatically? Because for 4 million, you cannot do that. Is there a way? Yes.
Keep an encoder network.
That's true. So by the way, what is encoder network?
Convolution.
Yes. So the point is that encoder network we have read anyways till now, whatever you have done, it is an encoder network which will take an image, give you an encoding or an embedding, and you keep on using that embedding for discrimination, for CMEs, for classification, for this and that, whatever Inception, Google, or whatever you have seen, those networks are actually networks like this. They will take something, give you an encoding. So you need to use that encoder, which is essentially nothing but going to get an image and finally going to give you some VI. So image is given, VI you are getting, and now you have got an encoder. You have got a decoder. Now, if you wanted to generate something, first you use encoder, then you get VIs, then take these VIs and give to the decoder. So why to do 2 things separately? This is encoder. Image is going in, vector is coming out. You take this vector, give to the decoder network, and some I dash you will get. Now, first of all, understand this is auto encoder for you. This is auto encoder for you. This is a convolutional neural networks. Here we are having decons. And here you have a big database. Huge amount of images are there. Millions and millions of images are there. You take these images one by one. You show. This hat you will get. And I dash I minus I. That's your loss. You take this image, you take this image, you take this image, you take this image, show it to your network, get an output, see how far the generated output is from whatever I have shown. That is why it is called as autoencoders, because this vector that you are generating several times also being called as the bottleneck. Why it is called as the bottleneck? But using that, actually you are generating the same image again. That is why it is called as autoencoder. Why this thing is actually being called as the bottleneck? Anyone can say?
Yeah, because this can limit the total number of differentiations, because in any
Yes.
case you are having the limit on the bits here.
Yes, that's true. And you can see that it's also a type of, bottle, that things are over here flowing, and this is the smallest possible thing from where you started to make decoder. So decoder is only generating this from this. No, from this. Decoder is only generating from this, which means that whatever the important things which are there in the image need to be somehow translated, stored, saved, retained in this vector, because decoder need to generate the same thing again. So suppose that it is a 100 cross 100 thing, and this is only 100 dimensional vector, which means that out of 10,000 things, you have selected certain 100 things, and that is why this is called as latent space. Latent space is a space that is hidden, we cannot touch, we don't know. It's actually a space where things are happening, and from there we are getting something by which you are generating the image. So whatever things are actually stored inside this VI, they are actually important, because from this VI you are generating this. So even if you take this VI as 100 dimension and see, you will not be able to understand anything as an image, because it's just a 100 dimensional vector. But decoder understands that how to take a vector from this space or this latent space, how to take a vector and generate an image for you, because decoder is trained for this. One important thing, in fact, not one, maybe two. One is that first you started to generate the images. Till now, nobody has explained to you how can you generate an image. And the second thing is it's first unsupervised model. You don't have any labels. You take the image, show it to the network, get an image as an output, find out that what you have generated and what you have shown, and back propagate that loss to the whole network. And you see that if you keep on doing for a good amount of time, network understood that if an image is being shown, how can I make the same image back? That is first of all autoencoder for you, having encoder as well as decoder, two parts. One is Yeah, one is CNN, other one is the convolutional net. And that is a very specific type of machine deep learning model. Now you can ask if you have any question, then I will move forward. Yes.
Sir, is that a part of encoders? Is it just in the initial phase? Like once we have the network, we will remove that?
I will answer that. I will answer that after some time. It's a very good, intelligent question. Anyone else?
Sir, can it be considered also as supervised technique?
Yeah, that's a unsupervised technique. Why supervised? Because you don't require any label.
Sir, but initial image is considered as a label here, na? So to calculate the loss.
No, so the label is that you don't know what is there in the image, not even the cat or the dog or something. You don't know. You just take that image, show it to your network, generate something, find out its difference with the actual image, and back propagate. So you even don't know that what is there in that II, and it's not even required.
Okay, sir, understood.
Understood? Okay.
So, but in
Anyone else? Yes.
In that case, II keeps on changing, isn't it, sir? Like we are not learning based on a single II. It's like we are giving batch. So would that have an effect in the convergence?
Yeah, so II is keep on changing, and yes, it has to learn a generalized encoder and decoder network, which will take any image from this database, and encoder need to be enabled in such a way so that take any image from my database, make a vector which will be given to the decoder so that same image is being generated again. That is the functioning of your decoder. So it has to be generalized over your given database. Network need to be trained in that way. These weights need to be adjusted. Weight of encoders, weight of decoders need to be adjusted in that way. Yes, no?
Aditya, Ashok here.
Yes, Ashok.
So when you are saying decoder needs to be generalized, it must be having some kind of a real image as well, no? Like because both encoder and decoder must learn from each and other in parts, in sequence, in a cycle.
Yes.
So it must be having some kind of real image there, no? Because we are starting from blank.
So these are real images. These are our real images, but decoder cannot see any image directly. It is seeing this vector representation of the image that is being generated by the encoder, and from this vector representation, decoder need to generate something that is find out the similarity between that and the actually shown image, and then back propagate. So in this way, you can see that decoder never ever have got a chance to see the whole image. See, if I show the whole image to decoder, it will actually started to cheat. It can learn, and that is actually not required. So from II, we make a vector. Show this vector to this decoder, and decoder need to make an image. And this image need to be as close as possible to the given image from which this vector has been generated. Ashokji, is this clear?
Yeah,
No?
yeah. So Aditya, that is my question. When decoder is getting first I dash, then it must be comparing from some real image, no? Not wholly, but maybe in parts.
No, the point is that decoder is not comparing. After that, you are having your loss function. So decoder is not able to access any information. It is getting VI only. So after decoder, you have your loss function, which has the access of II, the original image. Is that okay? Or no?
The question would be like how decoder model will calculate its loss. It must
decoder is, see, decoder will, these are not two different models, first of all. we have one single model. When you will be coding, you will be having one model encoder, then decoder, and they both have got connected. And after that, you have a loss function. And then image I will go into the encoder. You will get a vector. Vector will go into the decoder. You will get a image. So I is given and I dash you will get, and loss function is going to get I and I dash, both of these things. So decoder itself is just a small module in between, which will take input as Vi and give output as I dash, and it is done. Its work is done. Then loss function is going to get I from original image, and this from your generated image, and find out the distance. Whatever the loss you get, by that decoder will be back propagated and encoder will be back propagated. It's still not clear? You can please ask Ashokji. There is some implementation issue. I will again cover. You can ask if it is still not okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So the point is that, you know, both of these are two networks. They are combined. And after that, you are having a loss function which can access both of these images modularly. Both of these images can actually be accessed by your loss function, but not the decoder. Decoder can only take input as Vi. Yes. Anyone else?
Yeah, what is the objective of creating I dash here? Because with this I dash generation, we can only regenerate the images that we have seen from the database. We
Yes.
cannot generate a new image from this. So
Yes, that's
why
true.
are we doing this?
Yes, that's true. So thank you. Actually, I was waiting for this question, right? Because first the point is that I introduce the concept. Second, the point is that I let everyone to understand the concept. And the third is that when you understand the concept, then you will ask the question that you can appreciate that, okay, now I can appreciate that this is a question. Now, first, let everyone understood the point that what Shishi has said is that, you know, you take this thing, you are generating the same thing again and again, and that is the name as well, auto encoder. So why you are auto encoding the same data? First thing, that this is a significant bottleneck. This is something which is really useful. Why? Because its dimensionality is much less than the original image, and it can be used even for, you know, compression. You can use compression. You may have zip, WinZip, unzip, this and that. What you do is that you take an image, whatever the images that you have in your data set. You wanted to send some data set from here to America encrypted. You take that data set and have an encoder decoder network. Chop it. So you train this network end to end. Chop from here. These weights you keep with yourself. These weights you give to American agency where you are submitting the data. And along with that, you only give VIs. So no one will actually be, so if decoder is there, then given this VIs and decoder, he can generate. If decoder is not there, they cannot, you know, figure out that what is the actual image. So in this way, in fact, sending the whole or the actual image, you just send VIs and the decoder part instead of the whole image. They can generate the compressed thing, you know, decompress the thing. First thing, is that clear and okay? Zipping and all. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is okay. But the point is, we don't do this for zipping. Why? Because DCT is better than this thing. You understand? DCT, that is actually the JPEG compression. So JPEG compression is far better than this type of compression, but this can actually be used for compression, and not only for images, but this can be applicable for any type of data. You take any type of data and it can be used for compression. But now let me come to few applications of this. First application is training. First application number one is like some sort of training that we are doing. I'm having a network like this. Encoder I'm having, decoder I'm having, bottleneck I'm having, I is given as an input, I dash is my output, loss is I minus I dash. My loss is I minus I dash. I'm having a data set. In that data set, I'm having two classes, dog and cat images. All these images are my dog images. All these images are my cat images. And then you can train a CNN network like this. So you just take this network. That's a discrimination network. In fact, only the encoder part. Because if I say that do classification, what you are doing? Only doing classification. Only doing classification. What you can do is that you take these dog images, show it to the network, and then train it by cross entropy. Then cat image, train it by cross entropy, and so on. You keep on training this stuff. There is another way by which you can do this, is that first you train it in the unsupervised way. How can you train it in the unsupervised way? Is very simple. You take this data, irrespective of cat, dog, whatever, you take that image, show it to the network, and let your network be trained like this. So when you take, so you may be having 100 cat images and 100 dog images, you assume you have 200 images. Show all these images one by one to your network, and let your encoder and decoder somehow understand that how to see an image, get a proper bottleneck by which the original image can actually be generated, which essentially means that whatever the important things which are here that may be required to generate exactly the same thing got condensed inside this bottleneck. Once you got trained, you remove this, discard. You discard decoder, just use this encoder, and finally train it using your cross entropy loss for your discrimination task. In this way, from nowhere, you have got actually some pre-trained model for your own data. Pre-trained model for your own given data. This is your small data set. You can directly train this. The other way is first you train an autoencoder, then you remove that, and then you take this model like this and train it using cross entropy, the way usually we train our network. This is one advantage. Do you understand this advantage? This is one way. I can say this is one application. Yes, if you have any question here, you can ask. Else, I will go to the next interesting example. No question. Okay. My second example. So from autoencoder, let me move towards.
Sir, sorry, sir.
Yes, please, sir.
For the first application, so
yeah,
are we actually taking out the effort of labeling? Is it the case?
No, labeling is anyways being required because finally you are training it using cross entropy for classification. Initially, we trained it as unsupervised learning autoencoder, just to make sure that this encoder is not randomly initialized, but initialized with the proper weights that can convert a I to a proper vector. And then I wanted to train or tweak these weights in such a way so that it can properly learn how to differentiate between cat and a dog. So this encoder actually learns the generative features. And then, because generative features are much more intense and complex, and discriminative features may actually be the, you know, some subset of the generative features. So we have these generative features over here and take it over here, and then tweak this network again using your cross entropy. So out of the generative features, only those features which are important and useful for your discrimination will be remained, and your network will actually be trained maybe fast or maybe properly, or it can be trained from even, you know, some small number of images if you do not have too much amount of images.
Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you.
Got it. Yeah. So now we are moving towards, so autoencoder to encoder decoder. What does that mean? Is that instead, so network is going to be the same, but the name is slightly changed. And the reason is that instead of whatever we are showing, so here I show I vector I dash minus I is your loss. And that is why it is whatever I'm showing, you need to make the same thing. That is why it is called as autoencoder. Now it may be slightly different. What we are doing, we are playing a trick. I have I add some noise to it. I got IN, noisy image. Instead of showing I to the network, I show IN to the network, noisy image. Now a noisy image is going in. You are going to get a vector in between, and then finally getting I dash. My loss function now becomes. Do you understand what is now going to happen?
This
Very interesting.
loss would have been increased, right?
Loss would be increased. Wait. Yes, first C. Noisy image is going, vector is generated, I dash is being made, and then you decrease your loss. Optimize over loss. And what is your loss? Whatever you are making, how different it is from the original image. Once this network is being trained, what is the thing? What is the application? What is happening over here?
We're getting out cleaner images.
Sharpening the image, yeah.
Yes. So
Denoising.
denoising is happening. Yes, that's true. Denoising is happening. Image denoising. Application you understood? Image denoising. And that is why it's an encoder and decoder network, because whatever you are showing, same thing is not generated. That is why we are not saying it as autoencoder, but we are saying it as encoder decoder. Do we understood this?
So here
Yes,
the
no?
loss function has access to I and not IN.
See, loss function is being made by you. Don't worry about this access. The point is that it's actually a function. Cross entropy, MSE. So here the loss function is, by the way, MSE. So MSE you just forward. So I guess that in our lab sessions, we are making this loss function. So it will just take two things. It will take I, whatever you have made, I dash, in fact, the I predicted whatever, and the clean image. It will make the things for you. So access and other things is not a big deal, because everything is with you. You just need to make sure that what is the correct input that you need to give to any function. But you really understood that what is actually being done over here. Denoising. Yes or no? No?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Others, please also say yes or no.
Yes.
It's actually a very interesting thing. This is actually an
Sir, kindly
interesting
explain
thing.
it once more, sir, slightly.
Yeah, so
Once
like
more.
if IN is being passed, then I dash should be learning something along the lines of IN, right? So how is it denoising exactly?
No, Shishir. Shishir, can you listen?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, Shishir, please, can you answer?
Sorry, what is the question that we are learning on the basis of IN? Is that your question?
Given IN as an input, how do
Yeah.
we get a denoise image? That was the question.
Yes.
So, if I may try answering that.
Your
Yes.
encoder and decoder has already learnt on the basis of eyes. The earlier we were providing the images. Now, if we provide IN, which is not as clear image as the eyes were earlier, on which the system was trained, it will try to create a similar image of what it has seen earlier. And that is why I dash will be much more cleaner than IN.
Yeah, others can also try. Yes, can
But
you
I
listen?
Aditya,
think that makes sense. I think, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Aditya,
Others can also try.
I
Yes,
don't
yes,
think
yes.
if
Keep
it
on
is the
answering.
reasoning, it is clear.
yeah. So basically, Aditya, for example, if I have an image I, so basically, in the first section, we explained that basically the V, for example, in the current image, V is the total number of features extracted from the I, right?
Yes.
So in the image I dash,
Your voice is
how can
cutting. Amit,
can
your
you hear
voice
me now?
got break. Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, so what I'm saying that the V is the set of features which are being used majorly for the image I, right?
Yes.
So in the noisy image, how can that same features would be used to fine tune the image? I am not getting it properly actually, because those features are specific to image I, not for the noisy image.
Right. It's if I have learnt, if this network has learnt for clear cat images, and now I am giving a blurred cat image. Based on the learning, what it will try to do is produce a cat image, which may not be what they have earlier seen, but it will try to sharpen, improve, basically remove the noise from the IN, because it doesn't understand all noise. It it has already seen all clear images and will try to produce the same.
Yeah, but it has seen the cleared image, not the blurred image, right? During the learning
Not
No,
process.
the
no,
blurred.
no.
Yeah, that's not the blurred image.
So the
Learning
point
process.
is that it is
So basically, for
actually
example,
seeing
if
the
it detects the
noisy
edge,
image.
right? For example, it is a cat.
See,
The
the
input
point
to
is
the
that.
okay.
अच्छा आप लोग बोलो बोलो बोलो. Yes, madam, आप बोले.
The input to the network is the noisy images, and the vector that we are generating is also for the noisy images only. But when we compare the loss, right, which is I dash, we are taking the difference between I dash and I, where I is the original image. It is not a noisy image. Now it will minimizes the loss with respect to the original image, and then try to get the input images, which is IN, which is trying to remove the noise from the IN. Is it right, sir? Aditya, sir?
Yes, true, true.
Okay. We are comparing, or we are setting up the loss with respect to the input image, not IN. If we are comparing with IN, then we are able to generate this I dash, which is very similar to IN. But here the optimization or loss function is with respect to I dash minus I, where I is nothing but the clear images. From this, the idea is to get the I from IN. This is actually denoising. More sir can say. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so the point is that, as Badam has already said, and I guess that some confusion has happened, and your network is not seeing I or the real images. It's actually looking the noisy images. So your network is only able to see these type of images, the noisy images going in. And you are cheating and saying that don't make this noisy image. If you wanted to make the noisy image, it may become autoencoder. It's an encoder decoder, noisy images and real or the clear images are coming out. So I dash has to be as close as to the clean image. Now assume it as yourself. You are a network autoencoder for me, or encoder decoder network. I show you only noisy images, and when you make something, I try to compare it with the denoised image that I have already. Because I am myself adding the noise, so I know that what was the denoised image. You need to remove that noise only. So here your work is not to generate the whole image. It is a lot more simpler, by the way. You actually have got, now you think about an image like this. I'm showing an image. Now this is some image in which you are having some object over here, and I add one block here and one dot here and one dot here. 3 dots I have introduced. Show this dot noisy image to your network, and you generate something. I will remove these dots because I know the dots places where I have made the dots, and let you make something which is not having these dots at all. In this way, you understand how to remove any noise if it is there in the data. Instead of learning the normalcy, you are learning the noise in the data and keep on removing that. Is it not clear? Then you can ask, don't worry. If you have still questions, we can answer. Let us have questions.
So question is, how does it learn to remove the dots? Like, because I'm passing an image which has dots. So like,
yeah, the image is having dots. Forget about these dots. I was giving you vector, and from this vector you was generating. You didn't have asked any question there. Now I'm giving you at least the images in which only few dots are there.
okay.
You have, a simple vector of 100 dimensions from which by magic, and let me tell you that is magic, don't worry. I will show you from random vectors, images are going to be generated. Still, I'm giving you the full image, don't worry. I'm giving you the full image, which is having some amount of noise. Only few pixels are having noise, others are okay and fine. Here it just need to understand that, okay, given image, what are those pixels which are having noise and how to remove that noise, because even I'm giving you the ground truth in which there is no noise at all. So that's why you are training. Once your network got trained, you give any image, if it is having noise, network will be in a position to understand that what are those pixels where there is some noise, and will remove that noise for you. No or yes?
Yes. So here we are giving the ground truth as I, right?
Of course, it is written. How many
Okay.
times? I mean, it's written, right?
Yeah.
That's the ground truth. That is the ground truth. This is the ground truth. Yes, that is the ground truth. Please ask questions. If you don't ask, what will happen is that you may not be able to understand. Later you will say that, okay, because other things are much more complex. This is the simplest thing. Please ask. Anyone with any question?
Sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So this network can be used as for anomaly detection with this application?
Yeah, so anomaly detection, if you have images, then anomaly can actually be, you are introducing certain types of anomaly, and the type of anomaly that you are introducing, that type of anomaly your network can understand.
Okay.
I don't say that any type of noise it can remove, but suppose that if I have introduced the Gaussian blur, it will de-blur it, because it can understand the inverse Gaussian blur somehow inside its network and de-blur it. It can learn some function that you have applied over here, f, and invert that function. But it cannot remove all possible noise. It can learn, in fact, some function. So that some function right now is noise, and noise can be introduced using 55 different functions. Not 55, 55 is just a number. I just said that any different noise model. There are so many noise models. It can be introduced using any type of that model. It cannot reduce or remove every type of noise, but trained for that type of noise, so it can remove that. So anomaly, yes, in the image you take, occlude certain part, show that occluded image, and try your network to fill that part for you. It can do in painting for you, image in painting. It can do. But if that part is very big, like your image is 100 by 100 and you have occluded 80 by 80, it may not be in a position to do that. But what you can do is that you take a 100 by 100 image, apply some sandpaper noise here and there, show it to your network, generate I dash, and compare it with the original image. You are going to get the output. So your network, if trained in that way, will be very easily able to reconstruct sand and reduce or remove the sand and paper type of noise or Gaussian blur or whatever the function that you want. It can do dehazing for you. It can convert a day image to a night image. It can even do black and white to a colored image. Same network. How? You can train it in this way. Very simple. You take a you make a database and you take some movie and some new movie, colored image is given to you, RGB. You convert it into a grayscale image, I. So you make it I grayscale and I colored. Show your network, and in this way you make very big data. And then show your network this image and ask your network to make this image. How can you ask your network to make this image? You just make your loss with respect to this. Nah? Just compute. Now your ground truth will be this. Input is this, ground truth is this. You generate I dash and your loss is I dash minus IC. You keep on training. This will work. You are not going to get very good results because this is actually the base model. And along with this model, you need to apply so many other interesting and useful and complex concepts by which image colorization is happening. But I can assure you that you open any image colorization model, it is going to have an encoder decoder architecture in between somehow. And then having much more, loss, different types of loss functions and so many other things to somehow come up with the best possible reconstruction. But denoising is possible, dehazing is possible, colorization is possible. Any other thing that you think of, any function. Let me tell you that if you have an image, if you have an image I, and you apply a function f over that, so that you are going to get f of this, and this is some non-trivial arbit type of function. In fact, this may be a mathematically generated function f, or it may be a naturally generated function f. Maybe some noise or some real-time noise or something anomaly is going to happen in your network, and you want your network to learn this f. You require you just require pair of images. What is that? I1, f of I1, then I2, f of I2, I3, f of I3, and so on. And if you make this good enough, big enough database, have a good network, you train, it started to approximate this f. So basically this f got being parameterized by f theta, and this theta is nothing but the parameters of your neural network. Yes, if you have any question, again you can ask.
Sir, you were explaining about the decolorization.
Yes.
What is that? Can you please explain?
Which colorization? Decolorization.
Colorization.
Yes,
I
image
don't know.
colorization. Yeah, so the image colorization is this thing. You just take grayscale, colored image, convert it into the grayscale image.
Okay. Is it possible to get other than because there are some spectrum which is not in the RGB near infrared something spectrum, which is
Yes.
whose wavelength is different, right? Are we
Yes.
able to generate from given RGB to near infrared spectrum, and then given NIR, we can able to generate back to RGB, right? Is it possible?
Yes. See, all these things are possible if you can make a database like this, in which you are having these pairs that show this, make this, show this, make this. So you can train an autoencoder and its variants.
No. What
There
is
are so
this
many.
I1? You mean I1 is the RGB image, F of I1 is the corresponding gray image.
Yes, so whatever, this is the input, this is the output. This is the input, this is the output. So if you can make pairs like this, show it to your network. You only need pairs. You don't know
Output
that
that we
how.
want to have or output that we have to get. What is F of I1? We want to generate out of the network, or we wanted to.
Right, let me write it down. You need to have input output pair. Now input and output depends upon you. What is the input that you want and what is the output that you want? If you want to show whatever the thing that you wanted to show, that is your input. Whatever the thing that you wanted to generate, that is your output.
Okay.
If you have 10,000 and 20,000 such pairs, you can train. And the assumption of this network is that there is some function f that exists, may be very complex. We don't know. Network says that I am parameterizing it using this theta. And this theta is nothing but the parameters of my neural network. Yes. Anyone have any question? No question? No question. Let me see. How many of them are there? Are there 25? Some question chat box. It can learn how to denoise so that later when we see the noisy image whose clear image we do not know, we can see this learn. Yes, my understanding is correct, Anish. It is how it is benefiting us to introduce noise when in earlier case. That's also a good thing. Piyush, the answer is, Acha, he understood. Okay, somebody, Anish has explained. Anish, thank you. You understood the thing. So we train over these, we need to first of all train. And when we train, we have some training data. And once network is being trained, you can use that network for any image that you do not have that, the corresponding other output. Because if you know the output, then why you are making that? So you train over, the output, input output pair. And once you are done with training, you take this network and just show one image. It is going to make an image, and it's our expectation that if your network is properly trained, it is going to give you some output which is very similar to the actual output if it exists. Maybe the colored image or something. With this, very easily you can convert grayscale Tom and Jerry images into the colored Tom and Jerry images. But the point is that how complex is that f function? It depends upon that. Most of the time, like colorization, like dehazing, like depth, like any image to image translation, like any image to image translation, it actually is a very complex function. It's actually a very complex function. So if it's a very complex function, autoencoders alone may not be very useful. And that is why we need to somehow use it along with other concepts. Those are actually the things that we will be introducing in our variational autoencoder as well as generative adversarial networks. These are the two things that we need to cover. Not today. VAE we will cover, but GANs are going to be covered in the next week. They are going to be covered in the next week. No questions? Then probably we can have a very small break of 15 minutes. So let us have a break of 15 minutes. Right now, 13:14. We will meet probably at what's the time? In 10 minutes. Okay. So 11:15 or so we can meet. 11. At what time we wanted to meet?